TV.
100.
Oh. But for right now, hold on. I want to show you how to find the vertical and the horizontal asymptote. So what we're going to do to find the vertical and horizontal asymptote, first thing to find the vertical asymptote, first thing you need to do is set your denominator equal to 0. So if I want to find the vertical asymptote, all I need to do is set the bottom equal to 0. So what I'm going to do is I'll subtract the 1, divide by 2. Therefore, x equals -1/2. Now, on these questions, they also tell you what is the domain. Well, if you guys remember, when we were dealing with rational functions, we had to set the bottom equal to 0 to find the domain as well. Because if you guys look at it, when I have -1/2, if I put -1/2 in for x, that gives me a -1. -1 plus 1 gives me 0. We can't divide by 0, right? So therefore, the domain of this function is going to be all real numbers except for x cannot equal a -1/2. So just notice how the vertical asymptote and our domain are very similar, right? Because what your vertical asymptote is telling you is what values are not a part of your domain. So they're very similar to it. Then, if we want to find the horizontal, there's a couple rules that we need to look at. And I'm just going to write some very arbitrary values. And let's see, we'll have m. Let's do m is equal to n, m is less than n, and m is greater than n. And so I know a lot of you are saying right now, well, what the heck is m and n? Well, when you have a polynomial, what you're going to look at is you're going to look at your leading term, all right, your leading coefficient. And what we'll see is, up there for our leading coefficient, since this is my x value with the highest degree, this is going to be my leading term for each polynomial, right? Because remember, x squared plus x plus 1, like that's my leading, that's the leading degree, that's the degree of my polynomial. Well, here I have a -5x plus 1. If I was to rearrange this, well, x is going to be my highest degree. So what is that value of x? Or I'm sorry, what is the degree of my x? It's 1, right? And so what we say is, in your rules, we call this m, and we call the bottom degree n. So you just look at the degrees of your two polynomials. The degree of the top polynomial we call m, and the degree of the bottom polynomial we call n. So if these two are equal to each other, which they are in this case, what we do is we take the coefficient. We take the coefficient of them. So this would be a -5 divided by 2 is going to be your horizontal asymptote. All right? So you can say that so your horizontal asymptote is going to be -5/2. If my m was less than n, I can say that my horizontal asymptote would equal 0. And if it was greater than, I would not have a horizontal asymptote. So those are your kind of 3 rules that you guys can use for horizontal asymptotes. Vertical asymptotes is pretty similar, or I'm sorry, very easy. It's just you set the bottom equation equal to 0. To find horizontal, though, you have to look at the degree and then determine which rule you're going to apply. If they're equal, you take the coefficients of the two leading terms and divide them. If it's less than, if the top is less than the bottom's degree, then it's 0. And if it's the other way around, then there's no vertical horizontal asymptote. All right? Any questions? Yes?
I thought we were supposed to divide like the top by the bottom if the m and n are equal. Like have the numerator, the polynomial there, be divided by the polynomial.
I think what you're talking about is slant asymptotes,
Yeah.
which happens when you have your m is greater than n. So it's a slant asymptote, it's not gonna be a horizontal, which we'll get into later in the class. So I'll show you. But for right now, just with vertical, horizontal, and domain, that's all you guys are gonna do.